Extra Time on Tip FM, powered by Munster Solar, your local solar experts, delivering clean, cost-effective energy solutions for a brighter tomorrow. See munstersolar.ie.
Hello, good evening and welcome to another edition of Extra Time. My name is Ronan Quirk. We're here until 8 o'clock this evening and we'd love to hear from you. Our text number is 083 311 3311. We're also on WhatsApp, same number, 083 311 3311. Blue Sky is where you can find us on social media. Extra Time at bsky.social. And that text number again is 083 311 3311. Later in tonight's show, we will be announcing the Sports Star of the Month for February. Lots of great nominations came in for the Sports Star of the Month for February. We'll be making that announcement before we go off air this evening. And just to remind you, if you do see anything in March that you think is worthy of a nomination, send an email to sportstar@tipfm.com. That's an email address, sportstar, all one word, at tipfm.com. Later on tonight's show, we will be talking soccer. After a fairly dramatic couple of results in the TSDL. We'll discuss the implications of that. Local rugby with Joe Winston from Clonmel RFC will be with us after a good win for Clonmel, and we'll be also reflecting on Nina and Cashel as well in the AIL. Ladies football manager David Power will join us after their win over Westmeath. We'll also have reaction to Congress and the motions that were passed and the ones that failed. Commiserations indeed to Ger Ryan on his failure, unfortunately, he's to get over the line in the GAA presidential campaign. It is a long and arduous campaign that you'd have to fight, and you've got to go and press the flesh with an awful lot of people. And if you're going to start a campaign like that, I'd say now it was a fairly exhausting couple of months for Ger. We wish him well, commiserations to him, but it's fair play to him for putting his hat in the ring is all I can say. It's a very, very difficult thing to try and do. But we're going to start with events in the sports field in Clonmel yesterday, because Tipperary got their league campaign really back on track after a couple of draws that could have been wins, a couple of performances that might have been a little better, a couple of times when we didn't really put 70 minutes of football together. We certainly did that, I think, in Clonmel on Saturday with that win over Leitrim. Let's hear from Niall Fitz.
Really happy. That first half performance against the wind was as good as you're going to get. We were delighted with it. If I was told at the start of the game that we'd be coming in with that kind of lead, after playing against the wind, I wouldn't have believed you. But in fairness, I thought the lads were excellent. Played really sharp football, and clever decision making, and worked really hard for each other. So I thought especially around the middle, we won an awful lot of breaking ball, and we were real competitive, and very happy with it.
It was probably, I would say, in watching Tip football, it's probably the best performance I've seen in years from a Tipperary team, and I suppose that's testament to the work that's going on and the effort and the energy that's there, because you have a lot of young players there with Fitzgibbon and Sigerson Cup experience and coming through the college scene, playing with their clubs and playing really good stuff.
Yeah, look, it's a double-edged sword when you have those young players. I suppose they bring a huge amount of energy and work rate, and that's what's the other side of it is. Maybe they might lack that little bit of experience, but the last few games, they're getting experience as they go, and you can see them learning, and the older lads as well. I felt today did. Really stood up, leaders all over. I thought Jack Carney excellent at the back. I thought, Paddy brilliant in the middle of the field, and Stephen really stood up, had a big game, and others, it was all over. I thought it was a lot of good performances.
Yeah. And the energy was in it from the off. You got ahead, stayed ahead, and you were playing against the wind, but the work rate of Tipperary against the wind was phenomenal.
Yeah, look, as I said, we just didn't give them many opportunities at all. Maybe they kicked a couple of wides. It was a difficult enough wind as we found ourselves in the second half. It wasn't simple, but we didn't give them many opportunities at all, and we were happy with that. And And even in the second half, you know, like I thought the thing about the second half was we never really gave them a sniff, you know, when they came back, or our chance of coming back into it. Like, they never, you know, started eating into the lead massively. We were real composed, you know, and look, it was always going to be difficult to kind of replicate that first half dominance maybe. In the second half, Leitrim were, you know, they were going to come at us, but we just didn't give them a sniff, and I was delighted with that.
Full forward line, Keane Smith, Dahill, Hogan in there, Sean O'Connor, like, they're real jewels there for Tip football now.
Yeah, I thought like, I mean, we were slipping on the sideline, you know, walking up and down. So to turn out the kind of performances that they did in those conditions, they deserve a lot of credit. Not simple, and I thought we got some excellent scores.
Yeah, and it pushes you on in this league, and there's a confidence there about Tipperary this year that we haven't seen the side play with in some time, and that comes through wins, I suppose. And you know, whatever happens the rest of the league, you've got that bit of energy back into the game, and that was something that will please you.
Yeah, look, I suppose we felt the last two games that we probably maybe left points behind us, you know, and we were determined to rectify that today, and got a performance. That's all you can do, you know. The conditions were difficult. It was a tough challenge, but the lads really stood up, and I was delighted with the way they played. And you know, look, we'll keep building. And I say Longford beat Carlow today, so you know, Longford are in the driving seat. Longford and Carlow are in the driving seat at the moment, but we'll go to Auckland in 2 weeks, and we'll try to make sure that we're going into that last day with something to play for.
That's Niall Fitzgerald speaking to Stephen Gleeson after that win over Leitrim in Clonmel yesterday. That really keeps our hopes of promotion alive, very much so. Not quite in our own hands. Conor O'Dwyer was there on commentary duty for Tip FM. He can explain further. How are you, Conor?
How are you, Ronan?
I really want to credit the first half performance, because I had to keep reminding myself we were playing against the wind.
Yeah, and a fairly stiff wind as well as very difficult conditions. It was raining throughout the game, fairly soft underfoot, and Tip put up a big score against the wind. You know, it really felt like, certainly with 20 minutes to go, the game felt over. And even at half-time run and with the wind in the second half, it was a huge uphill challenge for Leitrim, and they didn't match that. You know, Tip Burden is good in the second half, but maybe didn't need to be. But in the first half, they were superb. They created scores, they kicked scores, they won breaking ball, as Niall mentioned there, and their ball retention was really good. Even in those bad conditions, the amount of turnovers they gave away were in the low single numbers, what I can remember. So, yeah, really good performance, and it'll really give them a lift going into the next round.
Do you think this is something that's been coming in terms of performance? I mentioned that there was a couple of draws that could have flipped into wins. We left a couple of points behind us, arguably, on the campaign so far. But this was something that Niall has been working towards, and you know, it was in this team. We just had to get it out of them.
Yeah, regardless of results, Ron, I think the performances in the league so far have been good. They haven't been awesome or anything like it, but they've been competent, you know. But yes, it was a step up, and really for me, they played well all over the field, but that full forward line are developing into a really, really dangerous inside line. To a man, they played really, really well throughout the game, first and second half. Didn't get as much possession in the second half, but in the first half, their movement was excellent. Hogan, he might have only scored a point, but he was an absolute handful. He did Trojan work for the goal that Sean O'Connor got, and I thought Keane Smith throughout was really, really dangerous. So, you know, when you have three inside forwards on form, well, you're going to put it up to most teams, and that's what happened yesterday. Leitrim really had no answer for inside three.
Yeah, I was looking at the team selection now. It obviously didn't line out as it was selected. You know, Mark Russell, I think, was named at 6 at one stage, which isn't a position that you'd expect Mark to play in, but I think Paddy filled that role pretty much as expected, along expected lines. But I suppose the reason I started with this is there's a degree of experimentation still going on with Niall, where he's not really, if you asked him now what his championship 15 would be, I'm not so sure he'd be able to answer you.
Well, I'm sure he wouldn't answer you right, Ronan, but my guess is at this stage he probably knows 10 or 11, if not 12 of the starting 15. But of course, a lot can happen between now and the first round of the championship, you know, in terms of injuries and maybe other guys coming back from injuries. But I think certainly the nucleus of a championship team is starting to take hold, you know. Stephen O'Brien, you know, Lion mentioned there some of the older guys. I thought Stephen O'Brien had a powerful game. He kicked two long range frees off the ground. One was from about well outside the 45 off the ground against the wind in the first half. and he kicked a point with the wind off the ground from over near the right-hand sideline with about 5 minutes to go. Okay, the game was done and dusted at that stage, but on a side which favours a left-footed kicker, but Stephen's style off the ground, he doesn't swing it left to right or right to left. He tends to kick it in a very straight trajectory, but that's really two good kicks, and he's done that in other games as well. But I thought he was very good throughout, and good to see Stephen. I think he played for about 60 minutes of the game, but when he's available and he's injury free, he still has a huge amount to offer. And I thought himself and Paddy Feehan for two, old campaigners, if I can call them that, were really good throughout, and again in difficult and fairly sticky underfoot conditions. Are you
pleased with the exposure some of the younger players have got? I'm thinking of the likes of Paddy O'Keefe, Joe Higgins. There's a lot of young fellas on that team, because even the inside forward line, like Keane is still a young fella, Dahi's still a young fella.
Yeah, I count about 6 or 7, I reckon, Ronan, that have worked with Niall in his under-21 management, and he's won under-21 management team over the last couple of years. So yeah, it's a fairly young team, but again, they're not all 21, 22. I mentioned some of the older guys. In fact, there's some guys maybe they're in their mid to late 20s who mightn't have played a huge amount of football for TUP, but there's a lot of club football played. But it's a nice mix, but certainly there is talent coming through. Paddy O'Keefe, I'm not sure if he saw game time yesterday, but he certainly has shown flashes of that mercurial brilliance he has at times as well in the campaign. So he'll no doubt feature, I'd say, the next day or certainly later on in the year. So yeah, it's a good blend. I thought Charlie King was very, very effective, saw a lot of time on the ball and made good use of it. So I'd say there's 6 or 7 guys coming through, and they've certainly added to it over the last 12 or 18 months.
A weekend off, I think, next weekend before we go to Auckland.
Yeah, it's not the easiest place to
go.
No,
it is. It is. It's attritional, I think is the word I mean.
Yeah, famous for the time, I'd say. Not sure. Remember, Ron Hurleash went there as National League champions in the mid-80s. Warm favourites, and they were beaten in what became known as the Second Battle of Auckland.
Yeah, I remember it well. I remember the referee, a fellow by the name of Buckley. I don't know why his name stuck in my head, but he didn't have a great day that day.
No, fairly controversial day. So yeah, it's not a great place to go. Wicklow, I think, probably still may have an outside bet at getting promotion as well, so it's a big game for them. Unfortunately, Longford, after beating Carlow, maybe a bit surprisingly, it means that it's not completely in their own hands. But as Niall said there, you'd certainly want to be going into the last game with a chance. We play Wicklow, and I think followed by Waterford. But we would need Carlow or Longford to drop points, and they're playing Leitrim. On yesterday's experience, you got to think Longford will be favourites for that. Leitrim were poor yesterday, I thought. But then they play Wicklow in the last game. So that'll be an interesting one. So I'd say if we win our last 2 games, we have a 50-50 shot at getting promotion, and 50-50 shot rather at getting to play in Croke Park in the league final, which again for this group of players would be another day to savour, and it gives them more big game experience,
Yeah, no, I think that's a valid point. You could argue, in hurling, it's not exactly clear whether getting to a league final is advantageous come the Munster Championship. But I'd say in football, the chance to play in Croke Park with a cup up for grabs before you start your championship campaign, I can't see a downside to that.
Oh, there's not. There's certainly no downside. There's a big upside, really, And as well as that, getting promoted, it's important. Any year in your Division 4, you want to get out of it running, but it's not the be-all and end-all, I think, myself. I think as long as we show progress in the league, if we could win our last 2 games, finish on 10 points, and most years you go up on 10 points, so we'd be unlucky if we didn't. But even if we didn't, it represents a very good campaign. It sets us up nicely for a cut at the Munster Championship and for more than likely Tailteann Cup beyond that. So there's loads of football to be played yet. Another 2 wins would certainly mark a really successful league campaign, even if we don't go up. 10 points would be a good return out of a possible 14, and we take that and let whatever happens to Longford, we'll watch from the sidelines to see where that takes us.
Yeah, well, many congratulations to Niall and the team, particularly on that first half performance, which is one of the best. He must be very, very pleased with that. Can I ask you, Conor, with just your hat on as former chair of the football board and somebody who's been involved in Tipperary football for a long time, to take the temperature of Tipperary football for us right now, because we've had a couple of years which were difficult since we got to won a Munster final, got to an All-Ireland semi in 2020, and the subsequent years have been somewhat difficult with relegation down to Division 4. Do you see signs of green shoots, or is it too early to ask that question?
Well, is it too early? I think certainly there's signs of green shoots, and there has been an underage level now for the last 3 or 4 years. You know, I think at senior level, it's been difficult, and obviously with the passing of our old friend Philly Ryan, it's been a difficult 6 months for all involved in Tipperary football. But Niall has, you know, taken on the baton and pushed on from where Philly left off. I do think there's signs of green shoots. Again, a strong end to a Division 4 campaign would be further signs. But, you know, I wrote them down here before I came on, 6 or 7 guys who've come through from the under-21 team or the under-20 team in recent years. And there's been a couple of years where we were relatively strong at minor, not as strong as we were maybe 10 or 12 years ago when David Power was involved, but certainly stronger than we had been for a couple of years before that. So I'd say they're shoots. They're still fairly immature shoots, if I can use that term. But yeah, I think there is certainly hope, and I think we have a strong management team in place, and it looked like a group of players are committed to the cause, and certainly on the back of the effort yesterday in poor conditions, you couldn't but go home pleased. So yeah, I think there's plenty to look forward to.
We look forward to the last 2 league games, see what the cards will fall, where they fall, and we'll see where that takes us. But thanks for your time tonight, Conor. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Ronan.
Not at all. It's Conor O'Dwyer, who was on co-commentary duty for us at the weekend as Tipperary defeat Leitrim in Clonmel in the 5th round of the National Football League. One texter says, I was at the game in Clonmel yesterday. I was very impressed with the way Tip played in very, very difficult conditions. Played good direct football at times and took their scores really well. I think that's a very valid point. It's not so much about the fact that we won. I think it's the style in which we won, and you've got to take the conditions into account. Yesterday, I think no matter where you were in the county, you would have seen the rain and the wind that was falling, and not an easy day to play football, but to play as well as we did, kick the points we did. Very impressive Stephen kicking from the ground as well in those very, very difficult conditions. Let's hear from Stephen O'Brien. He spoke to Stephen Gleeson at the full-time whistle yesterday. Sorry.
Extra time on Tip FM.
I do apologise. I think I'd be able to work that at this stage in my career, so I do apologise. Let's hear from Stephen O'Brien.
Yeah, today was a brilliant day. Conditions were tough, and to be fair, everyone just cycled into it, and we got a performance that we knew was in us for a long time. We just hadn't put 70 minutes together throughout the league so far. We'd seen in dribs and drabs, so it was actually great to see it all come to fruition for 70 minutes today.
Yeah, like the match really started with Tip playing against the wind in power and pushing and attacking. You got those early scores and it really settled everything down.
It actually did, yeah. So we knew straight away after losing the toss that we were going to be up against a stiff breeze. Conditions were very hard out there, so it was just all about minding the ball, getting it in close enough. Like, we actually had the benefit of warming up in that half of the field, so we even seen in the warm-up you actually had to be 21 or in to get a score, so that kind of, we knew how far we'd carry the ball then, and actually paid dividends to us.
Yeah, and then you held that lead half time, second half more of the same. Leitrim came back into it, but you had that cushion built up and kept the scoreboard ticking over. You got a nice score there from the deck yourself late on as well. That must have been a pleasing one in front of the crowd.
Yeah, it was. I suppose the big thing we said at half time was every score is important here, because one score means it's 2 to beat it. So that was the message that we kept reiterating. Scoreboard ticking, every one score is going to be huge. The one at the end there, that's when things are going real well. They all tend to go over then, so. But look at it, I think it was a big performance from everyone. Shoulder to wheel, and just delighted to get another 2 points on the board.
Yeah, Niall Fitzgerald has really steadied the ship, after turbulent time in Tip football, but it's going well now, and looking good in this league. Yeah,
Niall has been brilliant since he came in. Under circumstances that Niall or no one ever wanted to take on a job, but he's taken it in his stride, and with respect, I suppose, to his predecessor. And what we have coming through is a great crop of young lads in Tip football. He had a very successful under-20s team, and we're seeing them come through, and look, it's going to take them a couple of games and hard league games like that to kind of get fully up to speed, but their application is second to none. And I suppose while we're touching on, we were coming back to Clonmel today to Philly Ryan's home club, and we wanted to respect that. I suppose it was a bit poignant that Philly's last game in charge was against Leitrim. We now had Leitrim coming to his home club, so that was definitely something that we spoke about during the week, and I'm delighted with how everyone responded to it. And look, for his family, I hope it does something for him, because it's never going to be easy for him, but we carried Philly's memory in today's victory and performance.
Well done, and it was a commanding performance. I struggle to remember a Tip team that dominated like that for a long time.
Yeah, I think we just got into a flow. I think during the week we actually trained exceptionally well, and we were kind of saying all week that like things are going well here. We were really challenging each other, and it wasn't just the starting 15 or that. There was lads there fighting to get into the 15, onto the 26, and so on. So like competition for places has been brilliant there the last couple of weeks, and hopefully long may that continue.
Yeah, and you've like a boost, I suppose, as well with the Sigerson Cup winners there. Dahi Hogan doing so well, your own clubmate Charlie King. All that feeds into a positive narrative.
It does, of course. Look, unfortunately, in tip football, it's not every day you get to go out and compete for national titles and win them in Croke Park and stuff like that. That's given the lads an extra pep in the step. And for us as players, we were all behind them throughout the campaign. It was actually brilliant. Willing them on and seeing 7 of our lads be part of the UL team was just fantastic. Yeah, brilliant.
Great stuff. And I suppose just finally here, you have to go to Ockram next, and then you're into the Munster Championship, and you're really into a key part of the season here, and you're heading the right way now with a win like that today.
Yeah, it's huge. I suppose unfortunately the last couple of years, at this stage of the year, we didn't have much to play for going into our last 2 league games. Now we do. So it's knockout football from here on in. So I suppose that's when you kind of get to see everyone's true colours and stuff, and it's something that we're relishing. Going up to Ockram is not going to be easy. So we'll have to knuckle down over the next 2 weeks and look, have a crack off that. Like big goal here is to try get promoted out of Division 4, and it's tangible now. So we'll really be going after it. Yeah.
Extra time on Tip FM, powered by Munster Solar, your local solar experts, delivering clean, cost-effective energy solutions for a brighter tomorrow. See munstersolar.ie.
Yeah, let's hear from Tom McGrath. He's on the line. How are you, Tom?
Good, Ronan.
Just before we come to Congress, quick word on the football. Look, we could get 10 points quite easily. Ockram's no easy place to go, I'd be the first to say that. But 10 points, if I offered you that at the start of the league before a ball was thrown in, I'd say you'd have taken it.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think more importantly, I'd say Niall Fitzgerald and the boys would too. Like, that's sort of his, good performances. And it's not over yet, because Wicklow are in this thing, Longford are in it, Tipperary are in it, and Carlow are there as well. But Carlow probably have the if you like, the softer run in. They have 2 home matches, as far as I know, against London and Leitrim. But the Leitrim Longford match is probably going to be the one that's the one that we'll be watching the next day. That Leitrim, I think, are Leitrim at home in that one.
That's correct.
Yeah, Longford let's go to Leitrim, and then Longford and Wicklow play each other in the last match. So, anything is possible the way this thing. The Wicklow match is the big one for us, and then make sure we don't get a banana skin against Watford, because Watford traditionally have been very troublesome characters in the league.
Only against Tipperary. They're only troublesome against Tipperary.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's the neighbourly thing comes into it as well, and that's going to be at play in the Leitrim Longford match as well, because nobody likes losing to the neighbours. So no, I think and what was I thought listening to there. I mean, Stephen O'Brien spoke really well about how you can turn adversity back in and give hopes, and from the darkest hour to say is the hour before the dawn. And I mean, his words there about Philly were great, and just shows what Philly was and what Philly meant, not just to his family, commercials, but Tipperary football, and that's well said, Stephen O'Brien. I think it was wonderful. It
was articulate and really. He said a lot in a short space of time, and it was very well said.
Really hit all the points, and hit a lot of points himself yesterday too. But
he did.
Sunday week, the Wicklow match, the 2 meanest defences in Division 4. I think it could be a low score one. Points on the scoreboard could be fierce important. But I think Tip and Wicklow have the 2 meanest defences in it. So, good bit stake. It's not a foregone conclusion that Wicklow will just go up and Wicklow will deal with it. No, the hardest match to win is the one you're expected to win. And I think this Tip team, thrive on a bit of adversity and that type of stuff. And like, I don't think going to Wicklow isn't going to phase them. I mean, they're in a good position now at this stage. Nothing to lose, really. Well, they have, like, really, but I mean, you know what I mean.
And go down swinging, I think, is your point. If you're going to go down swinging.
Yeah, I think so. Like, and that's. But I mean, 10 points would be super. Like, take it wherever to take after that. Like, yeah.
Can I talk to you at Congress? We look at the hurling from a first point of view, or maybe look at it globally. All Ireland finals not moving. I would have, if I had to vote, I would have voted against that motion. I don't think it was finally put. I think it was withdrawn at the 11th hour when I think the proposer realised that they had a snowball in hell's chance of getting it through. I'm glad that the club player was put front and centre of that debate.
Yeah, well, it's only right. And, I mean, and, you know, the case for the prosecution started on the Sunday game last night. I mean, the thing isn't dry, like, and they're starting again now at round 2. And the killing thing about it was that the fact that it wasn't put to a vote means that the debate can be re-entered again whenever people want to. Like, and I don't think that's not really right either. But no, it's only right that the club player brigade. And I mean, at the end of the day, inter-county players are club players as well, and they like playing with their clubs, and they like to be with the clubs. And I mean, the thing got a bit muddy there with which of the Dublin lads had this campaign that lads had to play 8 matches with their clubs. Surely, how are you going to handle that? 8? No, lads can do that, but it was going to be obligatory that lads had to play, and that's what muddies the waters. And sort of people say, "Oh, sure, this crowd, they're going with different options. They don't know what they're about. Like, let's move in now and we'll catch them between the two stools." But no, thankfully it didn't happen, and hopefully it won't happen for a long time, because we have a great product, and the Tipperary product, I think, is as good as there is, because we're middle of the road, dual county. And what I can't figure is that you have the Donlokes and some of those guys. Sorry, you shouldn't be mentioning other names, like, but you have guys like that, you know, Cork is a proud dual county as well, like, and you know, at the end of the day, like, all them counties, all the people in those counties should be united behind the thing and behind the club players. And like, we all like to see the clubs doing well. We all like to see the counties doing well, and that's. No, I get very animated about the whole thing. Like.
But I think there's a lot more right about the calendar that now than there's ever been in the GAA. You could argue that the only thing that needs to be sorted is Fitzgibbon and Sigerson, which is intruding on league. But there's an accommodation kind of coming between inter-county managers and Sigerson Fitzgibbon managers, which allows players to not be overburdened. But other than that, for me anyway, the fixtures are working well. There's certainty. Fellas know exactly when they're going to be playing, and that was something they didn't have for a long time. We've tried different things. The club month, do you remember that?
Yeah.
That just didn't work. It was a nice principle, but it didn't work. It seems to me that people are more concerned about promoting the games better. And I'm not so sure you need more time in the calendar for inter-county to promote the games better. I think that's a different discussion.
I mean, the big case being made is that August, September is a blank month. A blank month for who? Like, every pitch in the country is awash with matches at that time. It's just that the journals in Dublin and those places, they'd want to get down the country in our time and see what's going on, because
I just wonder, is it because the cheque stops coming, the direct debit stop coming? Is that what's driving the agenda from panellists on RT?
Well, there's a certain amount of that too, like, and gee, they kind of wonder, like, that got fair controversial at one stage on Saturday evening, kind of won't go there with that, like, but I mean, yeah, it's what is driving the whole thing, like, I mean, the All-Ireland, if they move the All-Ireland a week, well, sure, if it's on the first week of August, well, it's not on the third week in July then, so there's no check, there's only the one event to have. Now, are they going to be talking ad nauseum about the match that's coming up next Sunday week? Sure, I mean, there's only so much you can say about matches, because all we can do is we can speculate about this and speculate about that. But at the end of the day, it's what happens on the green pitch between the white lines. that's what decides the outcome. What Ronan Kirk and Tom McGrath have to say about it, they can just give an opinion. Like,
yeah,
and that's all it is. But no, there's only so many matches, and it's only a week. But like, a week is an awful lot to the club player. I mean, we remember, I'm in Bursley at the moment, and I can remember we playing a county preliminary quarter-final on a Tuesday night here and going out and playing a quarter-final on the Sunday in hurling. Nobody wants to go back to those days. Like.
No, I agree.
And there wasn't a huge amount wrong with it either, but the thing just had to be fitted in, and like, it was fitted in, but at a cost, I would say, in PR maybe rather than in human,
overloading. Yeah. I just think there's not an awful lot of duplicity when people start talking about these things. One thing that I would be in favour of is I wasn't a fan of the penalty shootout for the Munster final last year, so it will go to a replay. I do think that one of the blue ribbon events in hurling shouldn't be decided on the basis of penalty shootouts. That's just a personal opinion, and I don't know what your view on that is.
I'd agree with it, because I think that and probably no match should be, really, if it comes to it. And I think players, now, you'll get the odd fellow will say, we'd settle, get fixed on the day. But if, in their heart of hearts, if a guy got a chance between a penalty shootout on a Saturday or a replay on Wednesday, like, I'm talking club scene now, maybe more so than inter-county scene, but I think lads would handle that. And there are windows there in the calendar that replays can be fixed in, like, and they will be fixed. I mean, but there's other scheduling that comes into it, and his media schedules and all that type of stuff. That's dictating an awful lot more of the fixture schedule than the fixture planners are prepared to admit. Mm-hmm. That's there and has been there, and there's an awful lot of stuff. You see matches starting at 4:10 or 3:50 or stupid, but that's for
that's for TV. That's for ads. That's commercial.
That's exactly it. I mean, there's more to it. There's more to it than that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm going to continue to ask you a few more pertinent questions. Harmonising the descent rule in football and hurling. Your thoughts?
They still haven't harmonised it. It's 50 in hurling. It's 50 in football at the moment, and it's going to be 30 in hurling. And I saw one yesterday in football, and I'd say if it was to be counted, I'd say it was close on 70 metres. The rule says 50, but your man went the whole way from the opposition 65 at an angle up to the 20 at the other end. Sure, because, and then the other one, I get the rant out of the way.
No, I just think referees should run in straight lines.
Well, that's what it is. More advantageous. 50 metres more advantageous. That's it. Direct line to the goal. But your man went 70, like, and how it was so easy to spot is that the episode was on a fixed line on the field, and he went to a fixed line. But the one that I really annoyed about yesterday was we saw there was two episodes in Thurles the previous Saturday night against Limerick. We didn't fully give the ball back properly in the hurling. We kind of threw it back over the sideline. It was brought up about 30 metres. The rule says 20, and a free puck awarded, which is what the rule says. But like yesterday, the Kilkenny-Cork match, a Cork lad stayed standing on top of the ball practically, and a Kilkenny lad ready to take the line ball. Referee did nothing about it, just moved your man back and took the line ball. Whereas a different set of rules were in place, and these are only small things.
Yeah.
But we want to start getting them right. We're talking about fixture calendars and all that type of stuff. Let's get the rules. Let's get the rules to stay right first, and we won't even talk about throwing the ball or pinning arms or doing that type of stuff.
I was reading a stat today about the number of stick passes or hand passes in the 2010 All-Ireland between Tip and Kilkenny, and if you sit down and watch that match now, it looks like a match that is from a previous century, let alone a previous decade, because the game has changed immeasurably. But the rule book hasn't changed, hasn't even attempted to keep up with how the game has changed. The rucks, the amount of arms being held, the evolution of the hand of the throw ball as a result of arms being held, the overemphasis on possession, the reticence about pucking the ball long and trying to make sure that there's a battle somewhere on the field for it. One-on-one battles don't exist anymore. Do we need a hurling review committee?
So there is some sort of a committee there.
Yeah, but do we need it to be as radical as Jim Gavin's?
We wanted it. Yeah, of course we did. We needed the hurling review committee 12 months, 2 years ago, because it's gone into an awful shambles at this stage, and the longer it's left without the things being properly addressed. I mean, like the one body covers Gaelic football and hurling. Yes, we have certain rules. We have a hooter in football now. Great. Takes
timekeeping away from the ref.
Makes it definite. And like we don't have it in hurling. We have 50 metres for descent in football. We have 30 in hurling. And I mean, now there is the interpretation with some of the referees with some of the rules as well. Like, but I mean that's down to certain other things. But there is definitely a need for it. The puck out is probably something that needs to be looked at. The kick out in football, the ball having to go, turns it into a contest in the middle of the field. That's great. And football, it takes more effort, takes longer to get the ball from one end of the field to the other. Which we then do the same thing in hurling. Ball has to go outside. We have an arc that's there on the pitch. It has no meaning in the hurling game.
Yeah.
The big arc, but it's still marked. The puck out should have to go beyond that. A goalkeeper is expected to kick the football beyond that. Well, hurlers should be well able to hit it out that far, and let the contest begin out there, like, and no back pass to the goalkeeper there as well. That's there in football. A bit of uniformity, like, and that's all there is. You can't pick the ball off the ground in football. You can't pick the ball off the ground in hurling. Well, sure, you can't hit it out of the box in either things. And you know, the rules are broadly the same. Only there's a few little ones, but the hurling boys, I think, are fearful of copying what the football guys come up with. They want to just come up with something different.
My last point to you then is football had to get to a point where it was on life support before something radical was done. Why do we need hurling to follow a similar trajectory before it takes radical change? Tweaks here and there would do an awful lot to fix our game. Yeah, that's more of a statement now than a question, but you know where I'm going.
Yeah, but I think there's a good bit wrong, but the big fixing, pick the bits that they use in the football, and there's no need for experimentation with it. Just bring it in. The markings are there in the field already. Just go with it, and they're simple, and they're tried and tested. It's the same human beings we're dealing with primarily. It's the same kind of human nature, and the same. Dare I say it, Ali Kadoos and Ticos on the sideline, they have to be sorted out, and they'll get sorted. It has worked in football, well, like, and they're there in hurling, whether lads like it or not. I think the hurling people are not prepared to admit that there is a bit
serious
of
problem.
Cleaning up needs doing, but just don't spend years at it, because if we spend as long making a decision as we have been thinking about setting up somebody, it'll be too late. It'll be turned into an absolute. Yeah. I don't know what to turn into.
It's not the sport. It is not the sport you and I love anyway. I got to go, Tom, but as always, it's been an education. Thank you.
You're welcome, Ronan.
Take care. Good luck, Tom McGrath. We've got to move on. It's nearly 7:45 and lots to cover. David Power's on the line. How are you, David?
I'm good, Ronan. How are you, Keithan?
Follow that now, as the fella says. But anyway, Tom in animated form as always. Firstly, congratulations. I was talking to Martin Gray last week, and I started off with the great cliche after your game in Clonmel that it was a game of two halves. So I'm going to keep the cliches going. Cliche bingo. Yeah. Goals win games. Is that fair?
Absolutely, yeah. Look, we played against the Wind in the first half, and we were 162 points up at half time, which was a lot better than the previous weekend win against the Wind, and then we got two early goals in the second half, and that really killed off the game, and we were able then to give I suppose we have 7-8 girls playing O'Connor Cup this week in semi-final, so we were able to give them a rest as well, which was great. And look, I suppose it was just important to go up there, get a win, and make sure that we weren't going to be in any, I suppose, being like if we lost against Westmeath, we would have been under pressure to stay up in Division 2, so at least we've that secured, and there's still an outside chance of getting promoted, but I think the result against Mullingar has really put paid to that. But overall, we're very happy the way the girls are going. They're improving every week, and we're after using over 25 girls in the league, so it's been very, very positive from that point of view.
It's the journey you're on as much as the results that you're getting, because some of your efficiency early on left a bit to be desired, David. I think you'd agree with me. So that's
Absolutely.
something that really needed tightening, and I'm getting the impression from listening to that has been tightened.
Absolutely. Like I suppose our conversion rates were in the low 30s. Last week against Monaghan at half time it was at 80%, and overall then in the game was 65%, which was a huge improvement. Again, yesterday was very, very good. So it's improving, and there's a lot of new girls getting a lot of game time, and they're building confidence. And overall, we're very happy. Like it was never going to be sorted after year one. This is a journey that we're taking place, and I think over the next 12-18 months, I think people will really see that.
Listen, David, continued success to you. Good win on the road against Westmeath. Any win on the road is a good win. Who's next, by the way, before I let you go?
We're playing Donegal in 2 weeks' time in Clonmel.
Oh, I was going to say, thank God you're not going all the way to Donegal.
Oh, yeah, we've 2 home matches to finish off. So and they're great games. They're going to be against 2 really good teams, and then it's nice building then to the Munster Championship.
Exactly. David, stay well. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks, Ronan.
Thanks indeed. David Power joining us there. Back in a sec.
The Tip FM Sports Star of the Month with the Talbot Hotel Clonmel. Multi-award winning wedding specialists with state-of-the-art leisure facilities and spa with food served daily.
The Tip FM Sports Star of the Month.
Get your nominations in now.
I let David go before I announced our Sports Star of the Month, which was a bit silly of me, to be honest with you, but we had so many different nominations in for the Sports Star of the Month for February. Some really good nominations came in. I mean, Nina CBS actually won the Harty Cup on the 31st of January and just missed out, if you like, on consideration for the February award, even though you could argue it was the first week in February. But anyway, they're still going into a Croke Cup. Incidentally, the Croke Cup semi-final is on this coming Saturday. It's on against St Kieran's. It'll be played in Rathdowney next Saturday at 12 noon. So that's the Croke Cup semi-final between Nina CBS and St Kieran's Kilkenny. Rathdowney next Saturday at 12 noon. But other great nominations came in. But actually the committee have decided the Sports Star of the Month for the month of February is David Power, who had an extraordinary month of February between Sigerson for UL for the first time in their history, leading Clonmel High School to Corney final, and also good campaigns, ongoing campaign with the Tipperary senior ladies football. So the Tip FM Sports Star of the Month for February, David Power. Probably should have mentioned that to him when he was on the line, but anyway, my apologies for that. Anyway, Joe Winston is on the line. He's going to talk rugby to us. How are you, Joe?
How are you, Ronan?
Joe, Clonmel have gotten themselves to the top of the division in 2C of the AIL, and they're keeping themselves there because they're continuing to win. Home game's really important, but Monkstown are a serious outfit. So if I offered you a win, let alone a bonus point win before kick-off on Saturday, you'd have taken the hand off me.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Because we'd gone up there and kind of stolen the points off them, got the winning try near the end of the game. And so we knew they were coming down with intent to avenge that defeat. And they had beaten us last season in Clonmel as well. So we weren't underestimating them by any stretch. And again, a top 4 clash.
So it's a case now of, there's only a limited number of games left. You're 4 points clear at the top, but things can change very rapidly. A loss and a bonus point win for Thomond would certainly switch places.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, at the end of this season, because they're changing to 2B South and 2B North next season, there will be a playoff amongst the top 4 teams to see who wins the division. But the higher up you finish first, you'll have a final, and hopefully a final at home. So that's why you're still playing for a position. So at the moment, it's like a top 4 shootout between ourselves, respective Rangers, Thomond and Monkstown.
Okay, so that what you're saying is the fact that they're going to geographically divide the AIL. I would assume the 32 county element of it is becoming prohibitively expensive for certain clubs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're going to draw a line from Galway across to Dublin.
It does make perfect sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, from a financial point of view, it does, but it's going to be a little bit harder then to get up, say, to Division 2A.
Is it only 2B that'll be done geographically, or is it across the board?
No, it's just 2B. 2C and 2A. 2C and 2B will combine to become 2B North and 2B South.
Okay. Right, so that's very interesting. But what you'd love to do is finish your year with a bit of silverware.
Oh, absolutely. And we're also in the final of the Munster Senior Plates. That will be on Friday week in Fendon Towns Park against Old Crescent. So, again, that could be an opportunity to win our first trophy as a
senior club, yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully then do the business in 2C and finish top there, win the playoffs there.
Who's next up for you, Joe?
Belfast Harlequins.
Oh, you're at home for them as well, aren't you?
Yeah, you have a situation where you have 2 away games during the season on the spin, and then you end up with 2 home games.
Well, now you've got momentum behind you, Joe, so you know what's required. Listen, Freddie Davis scoring a hat-trick of tries, Brendan Delicato, Keith Melbourne with the other tries, Joseph O'Connor kicked 2 conversions and 2 penalties. Many congratulations, Joe.
Thanks, Ronan.
Take care. In other news, Cashel suffered a 33-31 away defeat at Dungannon, but that bonus points that they collected keeps them 5 points off relegation places. Unfortunately for Nina Ormond, they were on the receiving end of a defeat at the hands of Lansdowne at the weekend as well. 45-19 home defeat by Lansdowne. David Power's back in line 3. David, I apologise for bringing you on, dropping you off, bringing you back on again, but I just wanted to you had a fabulous February. You had a very busy February, and I'm delighted to say you're the Tip FM Sports Star of the Month for February.
Thanks very much, Ron. Thank you.
Yeah, no, delighted for you. I mean, obviously the Sigerson is something that you'll remember for a long time, because it was the first time.
It was the first time, and look, it was very special, and to have 7 Tipperary players involved in it as well makes it even more special. And look, we had a great couple of weeks, look, it's something that, even for UL, first time ever, it's huge. And look, it was a great couple of weeks. And
Clonmel getting to a Kearney-Veree, where you're competing against the likes of, some of the blue-ribboned schools in Munster football. Like, that just shows you where the high school have gone. I mean, like, as a sporting academy, I think they toppled Thurles CBS in a under 17 football hurling match. Yeah, in both an A and C, which is a huge achievement. And look, Tralee won there at the weekend. They're in the All-Ireland Schools final. They beat Castlebar by 6-7 points. So it just tells you we're right up there with all the top schools in Ireland, which is a huge testament to all the work that's been going on in the high school and to the local clubs as well. Yeah, particularly local clubs. And I think Niall Fitz is certainly taking some of your Sigerson lads, and they're performing for Tip, and performing really well for Tip as well, which must please you too. Yeah, absolutely. You see Dolly Hogan, Charlie King, Micheál Freeney came on, James Morris, the star, and Killian Butler, Paddy O'Keefe, and Jack O'Neill. It's great to see, and look, that can be only good for Tipperary football for going forward. Listen, you're a busy man, so I've taken up far too much of your time. So thanks indeed for your time this evening and every evening, and congratulations on that award. Thank you. Not at all. David Power joined us there, Tip FM Sports Star of the Month for February. Barry Ryan's on the line. How are you, Barry? How are you, Ronan? You know where I'm going to start, don't you? Unfortunately, I do. Yeah, so we have been discussing this for a while. Clonmel Town have lost at home to Cullen Latin, which makes their position mathematically not determinative, but mathematically improbable that they'll survive in the Premier League. Yeah, look, they're down now. There's no doubt about it. Personally, I felt when they conceded the last-minute equaliser against Thomas Celtic, I felt they were down after that. I think even if they'd have beaten Cullen Latin at the weekend, I don't think it would have been enough. I don't really see where the other result was going to come from. And I think even in the manner in which they went down at the weekend, conceding from their own corner at the end and stuff like that, it kind of just sums up the season. Out of the 4 games against Cashel home and away and Cullen Latin home and away, they took 2 points. So ultimately, over the course of the season, the best team always wins the league, and I think the worst team always goes down. And I don't think you could make any argument that Clonmel Town do not deserve to go down. So, if you look at where Clonmel Town have been over the last number of years, their facilities are excellent. They must be the envy of an awful lot of junior football clubs in this country. not just this county and this country. They're fabulous facilities up in the complex, developing them the whole time. But has the eye been taken off the development of players? Because they do develop good youth teams, but there seems to be some chasm between playing youth football with Clonmeltown and then being moved across into the junior team.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, it's not like that I'm even trying to absolve blame or anything like that. But like for me, the big disappointment, and I just felt really, really sorry for people like Paddy Turner and Tony Scully Senior, and Noreen Ryan and all the great people that are involved in the club. And I felt that maybe some of the players, and I don't think they got that or understood the responsibility that comes with playing with Clonmeltown. But I suppose from a club point of view, absolutely, I know that people will look at things and say, in terms of the development of players, I think I wish we could have another 4 or 5 Tony and Paul Scullys, because they're over so many teams. I'd say if there was another 3 days in the week, they'd take another couple of teams. But there's only so much we can keep asking from the two of them. And I also think as well, in terms of talk about those younger players coming through, but I don't think the same loyalty that existed 10, 15 years ago is there now, and players don't think anything of going across the bypass to play with Clonmel Celtic. Players that won everything with Clonmeltown coming through underage. Players that went to League of Ireland from Clonmeltown and were given huge opportunities. Think it's okay now to go and play for Clonmel Celtic. And yeah, that's probably hard to stomach, but I just think it's the modern player, and it's just the way soccer has probably gone.
Do Clonmeltown suffer from that more so than other clubs? Like, it's not a conversation we have about St Michael's.
Yeah, and do you know what? I think Clonmeltown suffer and have, like, if the emergence of Tipperary football hadn't have come, Michael Quinlivan, Kevin Fahey, Peter Atchison, Seamus Kennedy, all these players, Clonmeltown lost a generation. Greg Henry, like, they lost players. Those players came third in the world into the Nolan Cup, and every one of them was lost to Gaelic football. And they won a minor All Ireland and won a senior Munster final. And again, it's not making excuses, but you brought through one of the greatest ever schoolboy teams of Clonmeltown players, Evan Comerford, and you lost every one of them to GA.
Okay.
Vale Rovers don't do that in Tipperary Town.
No, I understand your point, and it was a generational team. Like, that was a Danone Cup winning team, if I go back far enough.
They would have won 2 or 3 FAI Junior Cups. There's nobody will dispute that. In terms of what was lost. And again, it's not making excuses, because in the short term, we've put players on the pitch in Clonmeltown jerseys that are nowhere near the legacy of the players that have gone before. And could more have been done? Yeah, absolutely. Could we have recruited better? 100%. And we'll have to look inwardly as well. But I suppose, look, I'd also ask the question in the coming year or two, it's going to be really, really interesting to see what they do in Tipperary Town, because there's no more Jimmy Carrs, Paul Breens, David Slattery's, Colin Bargery's, and I'm going to be really, really interested to see what they do as well, because they will look at what's happened in Clonmel. Yeah, okay, but do Clonmeltown try and develop players and bring them forward in a way that others recruit more aggressively? Do Clonmeltown just need to get real about the way the modern footballer is, that they just need to go out and be aggressive in recruitment? Yeah, I definitely think we probably need to look at that now as well, absolutely. And I think, do we need to look at in the schoolboy section, and I know they probably have over the last while, do we need to go with soccer only and go with those young players? In terms of, I know the under-16s had a heavy defeat up in Crumlin, but it was in the last 16 of Ireland, so there's some good players coming through in the underage. The lads have done great work with them. So, and I think from what I gather, they're predominantly soccer players. So, and again, do we need to give these young players the grounding of what it means to play for Clonmeltown, and hope that we can inspire a loyalty in them that will be different than some of the older players?
Yeah, it's a debate that can go on for a while. There's 3 games left against St Michael's, Peak and Cahir, I think, and Clonmeltown would need 6 points minimum from that. Yeah,
look, I'm going to be really honest, I don't see them getting any points in those 3 games. So, like, again, it's not about being defeatist, but I think it's about being realist. For me, and I was open with many people I spoke to over the last while, as soon as the late equaliser went in over in the bypass, I felt they were down. Yeah, I just felt, and even in terms of, all those games, like that late goal, then again at the weekend, they missed the penalty to go 2-1 up, and that hurts and stuff as well, and then all of a sudden you're 2-1 down, you equalise, and you have a corner to try and win it at the end, and you get countered on 100 yards and concede a third. We just haven't been good enough.
Okay. It's something we'll return to. It's almost like Tottenham going down. It's nearly too big to go down, but anyway, nobody's too big to go down. St Michael's 3-1 winners over Celtic, and 2 Boris, a 4-3 belter against Cahir Park.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm not going to mention, I don't know, maybe I already have. I'm not going to mention Burris conceding goals because I know they're probably getting bored of that. But again, the ultimate thing you have to do in games of football is win games of football. And they're doing a really good job of winning games of football. And they've emerged as a team that is, after Peak Villa and St. Michael's are the team that are the coming team. And I think it's great for the league that the closer they can get this season to hopefully give them a launch pad to kick on again next season and maybe go a little further. But again, all they can do is keep winning games and see what happens. And the same for St. Michael's. They got off to a difficult start, conceding early from a set piece, which is unlike them, over in Celtic Park, but they responded quickly. Daniel O'Dwyer got a couple of goals and they were 2-1 up at half time. They've added a third then and they see it out. And look, all they can do is keep winning games to keep the title race alive, and they go to Turles then to try and force a playoff. So another good 3 points for St. Michael's and for 2 Mile Verse.
Barry, as always, thanks for your time this evening.
Thanks very much, Rowan.
Not at all. Barry Ryan joining us there. That's all we've got time for. Ian O'Connor produced. We'll be back with you next Monday night. Good night and good luck.
Extra time on Tip FM, powered by Munster Solar, your local solar experts, delivering clean, cost-effective energy solutions for a brighter tomorrow. See munstersolar.ie.